Most people fight to get into the Hall of Fame. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just said they shouldn't have let him in so soon. Yeah, you heard that right. One of the most popular drivers in NASCAR history went on his podcast this week and basically told the world that the Hall of Fame made a mistake by putting him in when they did. And honestly, his reason is about as classy as it gets. Let's back up a little bit. Dale Jr. got inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame back in 2021. That was his very first year he was even allowed to be on the ballot. He retired from racing in 2017, and the moment he was eligible, he was in. First ballot, no waiting. And on paper, that makes a lot of sense. Think about what this man did in the sport. He won 26 Cup Series races. He won the Daytona 500 not once, but twice. Before he even made it to the Cup Series full-time, he already had back-to-back championships in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in 1998 and 1999. And then there's this stat that really tells the whole story about how much fans loved this guy. He was voted NASCAR's most popular driver for 15 straight years. From 2003 all the way to 2017, every single year, the fans chose him, 15 years in a row. Nobody else comes close to that. So when his name showed up on the Hall of Fame ballot, most people didn't even think twice. Of course he's getting in. First try, no question. But here's where things get interesting. This week, on an episode of his podcast, The Dale Jr. Download, Jr. opened up about how he really feels about that whole thing, and what he said might surprise you. He talked about how whenever new names show up on the Hall of Fame ballot, they tend to jump right to the front of the line. The big names, the popular names, they get in fast. Meanwhile, there are drivers and people who have been waiting for years, sometimes decades, and they keep getting passed over. And Jr. said that's exactly what happened with him. Here's what he said in his own words. "We were on the show the other day talking about how the new guys who come on the ballot jump right to the front of the line. It happened with me. I tell you this, they shouldn't have put me in when they did. I think they could have waited." He kept going. He said, "I would have preferred to have waited, and the Ray Elders, the Randy Dortons, all those guys that were here a long time ago, they should get in. But a guy like me pops up on the damn ballot and goes right to the front of the line. It's like when you're checking in to get your flight. You gotta wait your turn." That's Dale Jr. comparing the Hall of Fame to an airport line, and he's putting himself at the back of it. That right there tells you everything you need to know about the kind of person he is. Now, he's not saying nobody should ever go in on the first ballot. He made that very clear. There are some drivers who are so great, so dominant, that you don't make them wait. And he named names. He said, there are the Jimmy Johnsons, the Dale Earnhardts, and the Richard Pettys where you don't make them wait. Guys who have won multiple championships, like Kyle Busch, right? When he's eligible, he's going in, we put him in right away. But then he added something that really shows how humble this guy is. He said, but there's a few people, and I would say I'm comfortable saying I'm one of them that could have waited. So in his mind, he's not in that top group. He knows he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's not arguing that. He just thinks the timing was wrong. He thinks he could have waited a few more years so that other people who have been on the ballot way longer, could finally get their turn. And this whole conversation didn't just come out of nowhere. It came up because just a few days ago, NASCAR released the list of 15 nominees for the 2027 Hall of Fame class. These nominees are split across 3 different categories. There's the Modern Era Ballot, the Pioneer Ballot, and the Landmark Award. Some big names are on this year's list. Kevin Harvick is on there, Greg Biffle, Neil Bunnett, Tim Brewer, Jeff Burton, and also Ray Elder and Randy Dorton, the 2 guys Jr. has been pushing for. That's the thing. Ray Elder and Randy Dorton have been nominated before. They keep showing up on the ballot, and they keep not getting in. And that really bothers Jr. He got especially fired up about Ray Elder, and this is where the conversation took a really interesting turn. See, Ray Elder won 6 championships in what's now called the ARCA Menard Series West, and Jr. has a big problem with that name. He thinks calling it that is flat out wrong and totally misleading. He said, 6-time ARCA Menard Series West champion. That is absolutely incorrect. It is misleading information. It absolutely downgrades it. And here's why he feels so strongly about it. Back when Ray Elder was racing and winning those championships, that series wasn't some lower-level thing. It was basically a cup-level series. It was the real deal. Those wins meant something huge. Junior explained it like this. It was a cup-level series, and he won 6 championships in that series. Back in the 70s, NASCAR didn't even own ARCA. It wasn't even a NASCAR-owned property. To call it the ARCA Menard Series West is a huge disgrace. So what Junior is saying is that by slapping a modern name on a series that doesn't exist the same way anymore, you're making it sound smaller than it really was. You're making Ray Elder's 6 championships sound like he won some minor league thing. And that's not fair. That's not what happened. The man was winning at the highest level of his time. And this is a really important point. It's not just about one driver or one series. It's about how we remember the history of this sport. NASCAR has such a rich, deep history. It goes back decades and decades. And the people who built this sport from the ground up, the people who were racing and winning before most of us were even born, those people deserve to be recognized. That's really what Dale Jr. is fighting for here. He's not just talking about himself. He's using his voice, his platform, and his popularity to shine a light on guys like Ray Elder and Randy Dorton who don't have millions of fans shouting their names. These are guys who did incredible things for the sport, but because they raced in a different era, a lot of today's fans don't even know who they are. And Junior makes the argument that this is exactly why it matters even more. If we don't know their stories, if we weren't alive to see what they did, then the Hall of Fame is the one place that should be telling those stories. The Hall of Fame is supposed to be the place where the history of the sport lives, and if the new popular names keep jumping ahead of the old forgotten ones, then what's the point? This whole thing is actually a problem you see across all professional sports, not just NASCAR. In football, baseball, basketball, you name it, there are always debates about who gets in and when. But with NASCAR, it hits a little different. Because this sport has so many different levels, so many different series, and the way those series have changed and been renamed over the years makes it really hard to compare eras. A championship in the 1970s doesn't look the same on paper as a championship today, but that doesn't mean it meant less. If anything, guys like Ray Elder were out there doing it when the sport was raw, when the tracks were rougher, when the cars were less safe, and when there was way less money in it. They did it for the love of racing. At the end of the day, a lot of different things go into deciding who gets into any Hall of Fame. Stats matter, championships matter, popularity matters, impact on the sport matters, but so does timing. And so does fairness to the people who came before. Dale Jr. gets that. And the fact that he's willing to say, out loud, that his own induction could have waited so that someone else could have gone first, that says more about his character than any trophy or award ever could. He's not just a Hall of Famer. He's the kind of guy who makes the Hall of Fame mean something.